As a career coach and as a committee member of Women in Mining South Africa, I have the privilege of meeting some really interesting people on a daily basis. My name is Bryony Lieber, and in this conversation I'm interviewing Takalani Randima, the Managing Director of Shaft Sinkers, part of the United Mining Services Group. We talk about how Takalani got into the mining industry, the concept of leaving your degree at the door and learning from everybody along the way, embracing knowing nothing, building strong networks and relationships, and understanding the full spectrum of the mining industry and mining as a business. I hope you enjoy our conversation.
Takalani, it's lovely to have you on this video. The mining industry and mining engineering, what inspired you firstly to join the mining industry and specifically to study mining engineering?
I wanted to be a doctor. I was supposed to be a doctor. If you look at the things I participated in when I was at school, it's competition in terms of medicine and research and things like that when I was still in high school. And then when I was in grade 12, I realized that everyone wanted to be a doctor. Okay. That's when I said, you know what, I need to be different. So that's when I chose mining. I didn't know anything about mining. My family...
No family in the mining industry?
No family in the mining industry.
And I would imagine when you were studying, mining engineering was something completely different, especially for women.
Yes, it was. I remember at university, they showed us a video and say, is this what you wanted? Then I started thinking, wow, is this what I want? And then my sponsor, which was Harmony then, they took us underground, and when we came out, they said, before you sign your contract, are you sure this is what you want? But looking at people, because by then we had already started interacting with people, then already I was in. I said, you know what, I will be able to make it in this industry.
So that's great. You got to see a bit about what a mine looked like, what it felt like before you actually signed up and went ahead with your studies.
Yes.
So what was it about that visit that excited you?
I think it was the people, because by then already we had already started interacting not only with the mining students, but with other metallurgy, geology, and other finance people, and also going underground, seeing you are looking at something different from what you are used to. And that thing in you to say, I want to be part of this world that I don't know. I think that's what fascinated me to say, you know what, maybe I can build a career into something like this.
And now you have built a career out of mining engineering.
Yes, but I didn't know how much the journey will entail.
Yeah, the things we can't see when we start out.
Yes, yes.
What are some of the key transition points that stand out for you?
When I was at university, I'll go for vocational work. By then, it didn't feel like it's a lot, because anyway, you only do it for a certain period and then you stop and then you go back to university. But by the time I finished my degree, and when I entered that shaft sinking project, I was told, leave your degree at the gate. That was the first transition and the first reality, because I had to now go and clock in 12 hours with other people, not the special student that used to come on vacation, but now I'm part of the team.
It's a bit of a shock to the system, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And not only just a team who's a graduate, but you are part of the lowest level in the mine. So that was a big transition to say, this is your reality now. So I will go and assist any person in any position.
But that's great. You got exposure to so many different things.
I was privileged because I got exposure from HR, from engineering, from artisans. I got to work with all different types of artisans. I got a chance, because it was a shaft sinking project, to start from the bank, to went to the winder house, to went into the stage, and also at the shaft bottom. I was an assistant on all those positions. So I had to embrace the fact that I know nothing about each particular activity. And I was able to learn from almost everyone in that shaft project. you are faced with a challenge wherein you have to convince people. I mean, when I went to that shaft project, I was the only woman who was wearing an overall. The other ladies that were there, they were maybe doing HR or things like that. Then the first thing is I had to convince the mining crew for me to be allowed to enter the keyboard.
So how did you do that?
I think I told myself that I belong there. That was the first decision I made. Even though sometimes I will hear the noise saying that this woman won't last in this shaft. So I just told myself, you know what you want. You have to learn from these people so that one day they can also see that you can add value. I think that's what kept me going. I would like them to know that they need to go through the process because there is no shortcuts. That's the first thing. I would like them to know that every person has something to offer. Every position that they get exposed to, it is important because later on, when you are doing strategic decisions, you will need those positions or those exposure that you had to go through. It is also important to take people on a journey. The person who you got exposed to from the lowest position throughout in your career, that person is the key to your success when you are up there, because they will know that, you know what, this person went through the process with us. They understand what we're going through. So
and that builds trust.
It builds trust, and I see it now because I'm able to recruit people who trained me. It's always nice and uplifting to get an SMS of somebody saying, I see where you are, I would like to come and work for you. Or you gave me a chance to be this position when you were manager at this project. I would like to come now and work for you so that you can see how far I've become because of the appointment that you gave me. So those are the kind of things that I get from people.
That speaks to building a really strong network and strong relationships.
Yes. But the only way you can do that is for people to trust that you are able to be part of their team. You are able to do what they are doing. I think that's the thing that I learned at an early age in a shaft, to say, these people are busy with this task. Even though I had a chance not to be part of, because I would have said, you know what, I have my degree. Next year, I'm going to be moving to this level. But I took time to be part of the team and add, not just being part of the team, add value. That is a decision that I made from an early age. Yes.
I see a lot of young people wanting to rush through the system.
Yes.
And I remember when I was probably in my third or fourth year of working, realizing that if I carried on rushing through the system, I was going to miss the opportunity to get my hands dirty and to really learn how to do things from first principles. And I see a lot of young people these days doing something once, maybe twice, and then thinking that they've mastered it and that they should be moving on to the next thing. So I'm hearing from you that there's value in repetition.
And the other thing is, I see it now at the position that I'm at, because every day I have to make decisions about people who are somewhere underground, and I'm sitting in the office. I cannot rush and go and open a book for me to make a decision that must save lives, or that must grow somebody's career, or that must make a huge impact on our clients or on our bottom line. I think that's important also.
And that requires you to know every aspect of the mine, every aspect of the risks that go on in a mine. So how did you get to learn about all those different aspects of a business?
Over the years, because I was doing projects, it was all about projects. In project, the project must make sure that it's making money. So I tend to also not focus only on, maybe if at that position I was a shift boss or I was a mine captain, not only look at the production side, but visit other people's offices, knock on people's doors, ask them what are they busy with, and then get some insight on what they're busy with. Always know what is happening around you. That was something that also assisted. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's an important point around understanding what your impact is on others and understanding what their impact is on you, and being able to see the business holistically.
Yeah. The mining engineers of today must not only have the technical know-how. The technical know-how is just a qualification for you to sit at the table. The important things is you need to understand the environment you are operating at from people's perspective, from risk perspective, and also from the technology side of things. That is what is required.
So did you intentionally seek out exposure to all of these different aspects, or did it happen by luck?
If you look at my career, I was privileged to move at an early age to contracting, to contractors. So I was exposed to understanding in terms of what is a client, what makes a project, and also I had the privilege to be exposed to executive at an early age before I could sit at an executive position. I had the privilege to be trained to executive, even though I was not sitting at the executive table. So that was something also that contributed.
Takalani, what would you say the qualities of a great mining engineer would be?
I'm not going to dwell on the technical side of things, because for you to be called a mining engineer, you must have your degree and all that. It is important for you to do your tickets. Most engineers, they think by doing a mine manager's ticket, then they are on top of their game. I think it's also important to do your practical side, which is your mine captain, because it also gives you that technical know-how. The other thing is looking at the industry now and how it has evolved. It is important also to focus to understand the environment, looking at the fact that there's a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders involved, the shareholders, the communities that you operate at, and also the people that you must lead, because by being an engineer, it's not only to get the production out, you must also grow your people and also grow the communities that your mine is operating at. I think, and also the technology side of things, you need to understand what technology can be used to make people work safely. What technology can be used to optimize your operations. So it is also important to understand those aspects.
Sometimes these aren't things that you learn unless you're quite intentional about seeking out the opportunities to go beyond the scope of your immediate job. And I guess what I want to ask you is how intentional you were in actively seeking out opportunities to engage with communities, opportunities to engage with people across the business, and understand your impact on them and their impact on you.
It has to do with the passion also, to love what you do. And you can only love what you do if you understand what is happening around you. If you look at the projects that we work in, from maybe you coming in as a graduate, there's a lot of factors that makes a project. I mean, if you're opening a mine, we open mines for mining houses. We sink shafts for mining houses. When we are doing that, there's a lot of stakeholders involved. There's a lot of competent professional people involved. I think I developed the interest to know what the next person is doing and how does it impact to the vision of all the stakeholders that are involved. So in that interest, I managed to not only focus on my job, but have interest on what other departments are doing. What is required by the community in terms of the project that we are executing? What is the shareholders interested in? If the shareholders are interested in zero harm or in environmental aspects of things, I made sure that I understand those requirements.
It requires kind of broad curiosity in other people and other things, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. That's why I'm able to, that is one thing that throughout my career, I managed to be able to acquire skills wherein I can relate to almost any person. I've matured enough to be able to walk into a mine and be able to talk to senior people in the mines because of the exposure that I went through. I think that is a privilege that not all people have.
You know, not all mining engineers can be the managing director of an organization. It's a completely different skill set.
Yes.
And I think that's what I want to talk about next, is that transition from being operational and technical into a position where you are needing to be more strategic. How did you navigate that transition?
I think I was privileged to enter into a business that was growing. I had an opportunity to be exposed in all the departments, because if you are small, that means you'll be exposed to everything. By the time you are bigger, you had the privilege to set your tone. You understand, you know, you are part of the system. That is what happened with where I am. I'm talking in terms of the position that I hold in the current company.
Okay.
So in terms of the transition that we need to be talking about now is, how did I manage to let go, since I had to first build the company from scratch, and then by the time the company now has grown, how do I let go to the people that I've hired who must assist in the growth?
It's a big challenge, isn't it?
That is the biggest transition that I'm still going through.
And I see this with a lot of my clients. It's most of the clients that I work with are technically brilliant at what they do. And then they transition from that technical delivery into a more strategic position. And their biggest struggle is letting go of the doing and allowing themselves to do through others. And that's what you're talking about effectively, is letting go of what you know you're competent in to make space for things that you might not yet be competent in.
I had a session with my team, and everyone had to ask each other, what must they stop doing and what must they start doing?
Beautiful question.
That's the right place. Yes. So my team also, my 2IC raised that, you know what, you can start trusting.
You've got to let go and say no to things in order to be able to say yes to other things.
Yes, and also to be able to empower the next person.
I'm so glad you raised that, because the benefit of you letting go of things is that it gives others the opportunity to also step into something that they haven't yet mastered, and they can learn and grow.
Yes, that is true.
So all of this requires that sometimes you're going to get out of your comfort zone. You might fail. You might fail badly, but it gives you the opportunity to learn and grow.
Yes.
Are you willing to share an experience where you've been completely out of your comfort zone and what you learned in the process, perhaps through failing? Or where have you needed courage? So I often hear women saying, I'm not good enough yet. I need to get another qualification before I can do this. I need to do this before I can do that. And it's a huge hiding strategy, hiding away from stepping in, taking kind of a risk, embracing your courage and trying something before you're perfectly capable of doing it. And I don't get the sense that that is your story.
I think the women are asking themselves a different question from what I asked. They're asking themselves, what must they get for them to get a certain position?
Yeah.
I don't ask myself that. I tell myself, I'm already qualified to get that position.
Wow.
That's what I tell myself. What I ask myself is, what is it that I need to do to compensate what I already know I'm working? Because what I want to say is, I know already maybe it's because the mining journey is too simple. It's written there.
Oh, it's not
In
simple
terms
at all.
of you will be this, you'll be that, and then after this, you'll be this. So instead of looking at what you require to be where you are, you need to look at where you want to be and then work backwards in terms of what is required. But already you know where you want to be. You already qualify to be where you want to be because that is the process of mining.
You already see yourself as technically qualified. And the question you ask yourself is, where do I need to compensate so that I can deliver
that it's all
high
about
value in this position?
Okay. Which is something that I think that is the difference between the men and the women. Because men already have that confidence to say they can do that work. The women, we are asking ourselves what we need to get there.
Yes and no. I absolutely. I mean, all the kind of studies show that women tend not to go for something if they don't believe they're 100% qualified for it. And often women tend not to ever believe they're 100% qualified for anything. And I think there is a story that goes around that men go for it, whether they've kind of got 6 out of 10 or not. But a lot of the men that I see in my coaching work don't. A lot of the men that I see ask the same questions as women. I'm not fully qualified for this, and so I'm scared of going for it. And I think this is, for me, this is an important point because I think as women we perpetuate these stories that men go for everything, that men are more confident than women, that men have better networks, that men are better. Okay. And we perpetuate these stories and we hold ourselves kind of hidden and hold ourselves to that story. And I think one of the most important things for us as women is to be curious about whether these stories are true. And to write our own stories. And what I really liked about what you said just now is you don't ask yourself, am I good enough? Am I qualified enough? That is your base is I am qualified enough. I am good enough. And there are other things that I can do to complement that and be even better.
And I think that is because of the journey that I went through. But when I started in a project where it's a shaft and it's men only, there was that thing that, you know what, this person is going to take her bags and run away anytime from now. That thing created not only the thing to say I can make it, but the love of mining, of sinking. So that's why the interest in learning developed, and also the interest in people to know, what is this person doing? How do I do this better than this person? What did this person do to be able to qualify to work as this person? So that's where the interest developed, yes.
So it sounds to me like you've looked at everything as an opportunity to learn, and that situations and contexts and people have been your mentor by virtue of the fact that you've looked intentionally for what can I learn from this person and that person, whether they're formally a mentor or not. What's the advice that you would give your 20 years younger version of yourself?
I think I will tell myself that it's okay to have a bad day in the office, which is something that when you are at university, nobody really tells you that you will have bad days, you will have challenges. And the reason why you are being trained is for you to be able to resolve them and make sure that you solve them successfully, and make sure that the people who work with you and yourself learn from those challenges.
Yeah. What you're learning at university is how to solve problems. And as you said at the very beginning, you start your work, you put your book away, and you start with, I know nothing other than perhaps how to think and to solve problems.
And the other thing is they don't tell you that almost 80% of what you'll be doing, it's people. Everything revolves around people. So that's something that when you are young, you don't understand. You think you are doing what you're doing to make your life personally better, but it's not only about you. It's about the environment, the community, the people, and also about making a difference in people's lives.
What does Takalani 20 years into the future want Takalani today to know?
To know that I've had fun. That's the first thing. Doing what I love. And I've contributed to people's lives, to communities where our projects operate. I've added value because you need to add value in what you're doing, made a difference, and also took people on a journey in terms of growth. I must sit and look back and say, and look at the people that grew by walking on a journey with me. I think that's important.
What labels do you want young female mining engineers to strip away so that they can be the best, most fulfilled, most purposeful version of themselves?
I think the first thing that they need to take out is the fact that they will start thinking that they don't understand the work or they don't fit into the culture. They need to understand that they are not into it to fit into the culture, but to make change into the system. And the other thing is also take away the label to say in terms of the process, it's not going quickly. They need to understand that for them to be able to sit one day and make decisions that saves lives, make decisions that improve production, they need to go through the process. They also need to understand that because most of them, they join looking at the monetary side of things. It is not going to happen just like that you are going to get promoted and all that. You need to understand that you have to add value. And for you to add value, you need to bring something to the table and make a difference. It is important for graduates to understand that they need to balance their production side of things with their learning side of things. You cannot just finish your degree and then you say, now you pack everything and you hit the faces to blast. You need to make sure that you understand where you want to be 10 years from now so that you can work towards that. You need to have a plan. You need to have mentors to carry you there.
Oh, I love that point.
You cannot go on a journey alone. You need people that must guide you. You need people that will allow you to stand in a mirror or in front of a mirror and reflect the reality. So the mentorship side is very, very important. The other mistake that I see that graduates do, which I also did at an early stage of my career, is to think that where you are working is the only mining area. It's the only area where mining activities are happening. There's a lot of mining networks around us. You need to participate in those networks. You need to make sure that you understand what is happening in other mining. Not that I'm saying you need to go and join other mining.
Sure, but you need to understand the bigger industry and the trends.
Yes, that is very, very important. And the other thing is, especially to the ladies, to be able to understand that just because you are a lady doesn't make you are not part of the team and you are not bringing something to the table. It's important to know that you are where you are because you qualified to be where you are. Nobody made a favor for you to sit at that table. That is very, very critical.
It's coming through loud and clear to me that being a mining engineer is not about rocks, blasting and pulling ore out of the ground. Those things are part of it.
Yes.
But it's really more about how you build relationships with people, how you build trust, how you understand your stakeholders,
Yes.
how you understand the bigger business. And being able to take some really courageous decisions sometimes.
Yes. You will make a lot of decisions.
Yes.
And some won't make you famous, but later on, the people will understand why you made those decisions.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
Yeah. And that requires courage. It requires curiosity about other people and other things. And it requires, I guess, a level of compassion for people, for their learning journey.
Yes.
Compassion for yourself and your own learning
and
journey.
Also integrity.
And
Because
integrity.
at the end of the day, you need to look at what you are embarking on and be proud. For you to be proud, you must do it right.
UMS has been a very generous sponsor to the Women in Mining South Africa mentoring program. And we've got a couple women from UMS on the program. And I'm just wondering if you want to share with us what is important about mentoring from UMS's perspective.
If you look at UMS and mentoring, it is important for us to understand the needs of our employees. You can only understand the needs of your employees if you put them through mentorship, because that's where they will start to learn and understand themselves first, understand the environment, and also understand how to approach the environment for them to grow. I think that's the core of mentorship, because the person must understand and have the tools to be able to grow themselves. But if we don't expose them to mentorship, that means they won't be able to have an opportunity to look from or to be guided for them to be able to make decisions that allow their growth. So it's like a catalyst, because it gives somebody, it assists somebody to nurture their growth by giving them tools, by giving them support. So that is what the mentorship is doing for our people.
Yeah, I like that you started off by saying it gives them the opportunity to learn more about themselves.
Yes.
And I think that really is what we're seeing through the mentoring program.
Yes.
Is every month the mentees are coming away knowing more about how they think, how they see the world, how they engage with the world, how they relate to themselves and to others, where they struggle with things, what that kind of internal critic kind of holds them back from, and how to quieten it down.
Yes.
They're learning about kind of their skills in networking and building relationships with others. And I really think what they're also learning is that they're not just there as mentees, they're there as mentors to each other.
Yes.
And that for me has been the most important thing to see, is how over the space of about 6 months, they're starting to build relationships with each other. They're starting to build their own personal kind of mentoring group.
Yes, which is important.
Yeah.
Because if you look in one's career, the people that you are interacting with today, those people are the people that you will be doing business, making business decisions with in 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
That's something that I realized also. The other thing that with the mentorship, what it assists the mentee with is because now they understand themselves, they also now have the skill, because they have exposure. They understand why certain decisions are made in the company that impacts them. So that is also important, because they are able to not just focusing on themselves, but also look at the decisions that are made and why were they made that impacts them. In terms of what we are seeing on our mentees as UMS is they are starting to ask themselves questions. Where do I want to be? And how do I get there? So it is interesting because some of the mentees that are inside the program, they walk into the office, they ask, which course must I do if I want to make sure that by next year I'm starting to focus on these skills? So that for us, it adds value because it simply say we have not only people who are willing to grow, but we have people who are interested in our business because they are willing to learn what the business is all about. That is important.
That's great. It sounds like it's opened their eyes to their responsibility and their learning.
Yes. And we can't wait to see the value that they're going to add in the future.
Me too.
Takalani, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. I've enjoyed your insights and I really appreciate your time. And I think the one thing that I'm taking from this is that it's important to not just see yourself as a kind of a collection of qualifications or your profession. It's important not to label yourself as a mining engineer or a this or a that, but rather to have a much bigger picture view and ultimately to see the connections between what you do, what other people do, and what the business and the industry are about, so that at the end of the day, you are making the biggest impact you possibly can and impacting on the lives of people in a positive way.
Yes, that is very critical. And I think it's important for all the mining engineers out there to start asking themselves, why do I do what I do? If they're able to answer that, then they will be able to add more value than what they're currently doing.
That's a very powerful question.